Welcome to the Two Literal Podcast, where we're talking all things fantasy, romantasy, romance, and dark romance books. It could be the latest releases, timeless classics, book news, and anything in between. So grab a drink, some snacks, maybe a book, and if we're live, a phone to call in, because Two Literal is on.
All right, we are Two Literal, and we are back. We are going to be talking about our first dark romance. This is exciting. And what we picked first was the Mindfuck series by Saint Abby. I kind of like this series a lot. I don't think you were as...
I didn't know you picked up on that.
I did.
But I will say it's not because of the content of the video. Content of the book. It was because of the name of the book. And the reason I say that is because the name is Mindfuck. So I expected a lot of explosive moments. And there weren't as many that I didn't already anticipate coming.
I don't think it was supposed to be for you.
Yeah.
I think it was
it's supposed to be for the characters in the book.
You know, because
the
unfortunate truth was, even though we were learning new things with the characters, also we were experiencing it from the perspective of one character. We kind of knew that they had a reason for everything, you know? So
but I guess that was why, because we did hear mostly from her perspective. I think I was expecting something to come out about other characters that we did not get to see, if that makes sense. Okay. But I get from the writer's perspective that it was a debacle between the different characters and their moral values and like everything. So I get it.
Did you know that the author passed away?
I did not know that.
Yes, the author passed away. So like you can't really get special editions. I have a special edition though, of it. But like that was like one of the estate has to like approve new things. So that was like one of the author's final works. But okay, before we go too far, a brief summary. So Mindfuck is about a character. Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name. I'm thinking of Logan's name, but blanking on hers. Not her real name, but her fake name. Lana. Woo! Lana. All right. So, okay. It's about a girl named Lana, and Lana walks into a coffee shop and runs into a detective who works with the FBI and profiles criminals. Lana, well, I say criminals, profiles killers to be exact. Lana happens to be a killer and she's pretty good at profiling herself. So like as a means of flirting, they profile each other. Very weird. But we later see that Logan, the FBI agent, is actually looking for Lana and his profile is wrong. He does not. And I'm not saying like wrong because of how the book ends. I'm just saying he thinks it's a man. He thinks they're strong. They're working by themselves, no accomplices. It's a lot going on. So that's kind of where we start the book. Personally, like I said, I liked Mindfuck. Was it like the best book I've ever read? No, absolutely not. But it was interesting enough to keep you going, especially listening wise. 3-hour listens, that's like perfect road trip type of. Yeah. You know, enough going on.
I did appreciate that it wasn't like super drawn out. I do feel like the author was able to fit all of this. Nice. I mean, total, was it like 15 an hour listen through the whole series? So
we listened to one book series that be 15 hours.
Yeah. So more than that. So yeah.
Yeah. So I thought it was good. You want to kind of talk about the beginning? What did you think of the characters upon introduction?
So again, because of the title of the book, I had no idea, because you didn't even tell me what it was about when we said that we were going to embark on this. So right. I had no idea what to expect. When it started, the way that it started and everything was just kind of put all there out in the open. Obviously, we didn't see how she was killing people, but we're automatically introduced to, she meets this FBI agent, finds out that he's on her case. And not only that, he's telling her details about the case
that she's not asking for.
Yeah,
she's not.
She actually asked him to stop. So
she was not tripping about getting caught.
Deeper. Yeah. I don't think she had a plan after though. I don't. Just like the last book that we talked about. I don't think it was something that she really thought about after the fact. It was just she was trying to get to this goal. But I kind
It's
of
been
like their
years in the
little
making.
romance.
I was about to say years in the making. So I guess we can summarize the whole book, spoiler free or with spoilers. Up to you.
Well, I mean, we're going to be talking about it. I think it's going to include spoilers.
So Lana, unfortunately, comes from a very small town. And it's unfortunate because it's the type of small where one person runs everything, what you see on TV, what the religion is, who's penalized for what crimes, etc., and all that. So what ends up happening is Lana doesn't have a mom around. Her mom passed away. Her dad is framed for the sheriff who runs the town's daughter's murder, even though he is not the murderer. And Logan's, I don't know, predecessor, is that the word? Predecessor, used this as a means of establishing profiling in the FBI. So it's a lot of cover up going on to make profiling look good, to get Lana's dad locked up. And he ultimately does get locked up, even though a whole bunch of the stuff doesn't make sense, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Even the way they cover it up is just kind of sloppy. People with power are just able to do stuff. Lana and her brother both tried to convince everyone that, like, hey, my dad did not do this. I was with him. They're giving statements. Eventually, though, when the dad does go to jail, Lana and her brother are lured to the town square to see their dad for the final time. And the sheriff's son and multiple other boys decide to rape Lana and her brother. Her brother happens to be gay. And it gets to the point where both of them are beat up and bleeding. And people know that this is happening. They are in the houses. They can hear the screams, but they're too scared of the sheriff. And the sheriff is allowing this to happen. I believe the number was like 13 boys.
12 or 13, something like that.
Yeah, 12 or 13 boys were raping and beating them up. It got to the point where the ringleader, I don't remember his name either, basically told Lionel, where are you at? Solari?
No, Kyle. I think his name was Kyle.
I think it was Kyle too. I think you're right.
But that is funny. It sounds alike.
But Kyle decides that he has not had enough between the raping her and everything else. He wants the brother to have sex with his sister. And he says no, and he tells him, well, if you don't, I'm going to cut you open. Since the brother says no, he does indeed get cut open and somehow manages to get him and Lana in a car over to the next city. And he passes away, but Lana lives. And there is a girl there whose name is Lana, because her name was not Lana at the time. And Lana is able to take her identity with the help of her brother's boyfriend. So this is 10 years in the past. We're picking up about 10 years later. Lana wants revenge for all of this, and I cannot say that I blame her.
I don't think even, I mean, obviously, as we see, nobody blamed her for it. And not only because it was so much to take down, it wasn't just the individuals that did this to her, but the whole town knew about it and covered it up. The mayor of the town owned everything from the police. Was it the mayor or was it the sheriff?
He was the sheriff.
The sheriff pretty much owned everything in town, including the hospitals, which is why they had to go somewhere else to get treatment. Everybody covered this up and has kept quiet for, was it 10 years?
Yeah, and people that have tried to speak, which typically have been women who have tried to speak, have had their children threatened with similar things and or death, or they've been raped too. Yeah, as a means of shutting it up. One lady was raped and she told her husband, and her husband told her, basically, it's your fault. Yeah, because Kyle told them, hey, she was trying to sleep with me. So it's I think the emphasis for this book specifically is about power. Yeah, like how power can be all power can be all corrupting, if you will. You know, yeah, with no checks, no balances. What's your thoughts?
I just want to be able to mention that even though this sparked a lot of what happened, we have to start with the fact that the whole reason Lana's dad was on trial was because people were already getting murdered.
Yeah.
There was already a serial killer out there, and that's what they basically framed her dad for in all of this. So this has been going on for, this isn't a problem that just happened and it was covered up once. This is continuously happening
It just
over
was a big
generations
deal
of people.
when the
Yeah.
sheriff's daughter died.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what though? For a long, long time, the whole time I was reading the book, it's not a mind fuck, but it was a little shocking. I just knew Kyle was the killer. I just knew
I
he
did
was the
too.
killer. Like,
I thought it was him or his dad.
Yeah, like or the other profiler, Jenkins, was that his name or something? Jenkins, whatever, was somehow weirdly related to them and was covering up for himself or something.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it to be so far removed. What did you think of Hadley?
I think that's the one that so she not only starts dating Logan, who is the lead investigator on this case. Think like CSI.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that episode or episodes of CSI where one of them ended up dating somebody that was involved in the case? And the girl, like,
I never watched CSI like that.
My gosh.
I've been seeing all the TikToks about it, and I say I'm gonna do it, but it's so many episodes, I get a little overwhelmed thinking it's like Grey's Anatomy.
It is.
Like,
so I actually started all the way from the beginning and went all the way until it came off of, because they still have episodes, but it's streaming now.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped when they started streaming because it was an emotional roller coaster. Everybody had retired. Like, they made it where everybody was walking away, and then they came back. But I will say that this was a lot like that, those couple episodes, because not only was Lana involved with Logan, but she had built friendships and stuff with other people that were on the team and stuff. And this all started because the other investigator, or he wasn't an investigator, he was like the business person for them, right? For the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
The one that originally approached her that she was not attracted to at all.
He was like the spokesperson, like I guess the face, if you will.
Yeah.
Because he does like all the, I don't know, media.
Yeah. So Hadley was the one that was suspicious of her, but she was only in the FBI because the FBI made her, which is a real thing, by the way. They actually do that.
Really?
Yes.
I'm never going to be too smart.
Like, people that are openly way too good at hacking or way too good at solving cases, they will literally pull them from jail to come work for them. So this is a real thing. But Hadley was.
If Lana wouldn't have been the killer, Lana could have got pulled because she's a good profiler.
I don't know if I've ever known of them to pull somebody who got convicted of murder, but other like huge crimes, they've done in real life. So FYI.
Okay, that's cool. I'm not gonna lie, that's cool.
Nerd fact of the day. So I wasn't surprised with, number one, how suspicious Hadley was, and I also wasn't surprised that when she found out everything, her take on it.
I thought it was, because I'm a woman, of course. Of course, a woman would figure out first that, hey, this bitch ain't normal.
This doesn't sound right. Yeah.
Something is wrong here.
Yeah.
Hadley got interested in Lana basically because Logan was too interested in Lana.
Yeah.
And he's one of those, like, he was like a TV profiler. Like, I don't have enough time for life because I work for the FBI. Like, this literally kind of what I got from what they were doing. But I think, I don't know. I expected her to be the one to figure it out first.
But, what was his partner's name?
I don't know.
He had another investigator partner.
Was it Luke?
Maybe. So when we found out that he actually was already suspicious but never spoke up on it or anything, I was like, well, maybe Logan was the only one that was blind, because how are you an investigator and you don't pick up on not even just her own traits and stuff, but you're investigating her case. Like, how do you not pick up on the different things in the case that don't sound right, Yeah,
it wasn't. I felt like I kind of saw early that the partner picked up on it. Because I think it was something where he was like, do you think, never mind. I was like, yeah. He would ask Lana questions. And but also like speaking to like ignorance. Lana was kind of in a fairy tale about how it was going to end. Like you said, initially, I don't think she had a if she died, so what? As long as mission's accomplished,
Yeah.
so be it. But also, like, with profiling her, they didn't profile her correctly so many times because they didn't know the root of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the first time we actually saw, like, because I'm not gonna lie, at first I was reading it, I'm like, well, they not really wrong with their profile. You know what I'm saying? Because she talks about how, like, she doesn't have a lot of humanity. And of course, I read books, so I know that's gonna change, or there's gonna be people that trigger, you know, changes in her. But Hadley being the first, like, to me, because obviously the person dicking you down is going, you know, trigger you. But like, Hadley was the first time where she was like, at first she was kind of irritated, I guess you would say, with Hadley. Like, you know, like she's paying too close attention. But then it was like, oh, this is why.
Yeah.
Or like her even taking the pictures away, removing just Hadley's picture. So it's not in her stepdad's thing. Because what happened is Hadley, in addition to being a great hacker and being chosen by the FBI, prior to that, she had a stepfather who was sexually abusive to her. Between like social services and her mom, everybody had just convinced Hadley that she made it up. So even now she kind of, you know, was warring with like, oh, I made that up, da 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 da. But Lana was able to figure out that it was true and it wasn't made up, because when she figured out Hadley was doing research on her, she started to do research on Hadley. And the way she figured out Hadley was doing research is because Hadley just kind of found out that her name wasn't the name. Quick side note, Lana's name is Lana Myers because of Michael Myers. She thought it was funny. I mean, I think it's kind of funny too. I'm not going to lie.
I guess I must have skipped that.
Yeah, she likes scary movies. Like,
I must have skipped that in the book. I knew that where the Lana came from and why she changed her name from the girl who had actually passed away in the hospital.
Her dad liked horror movies too. That's kind of why she picked that.
Yeah.
That's why it was Voorhees at the end too, when she had to change it again.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I like that they moved to Greece. That's your favorite place?
You know, I was about to say that's my dream place. I like that even though I don't want to say ended, or maybe left off on like a contentious type of situation, they knew enough about each other to like do things like breadcrumb each other a little bit. Like, you know, like her having that name and him knowing to look for a name like that, especially like in a brother-sister pairing. Because for lack of a better term, after Lana's brother dies, her and her brother's boyfriend become brother and sister. Yeah. Because Jake holds a lot of regret about not doing more than I do. And also they didn't explain, in my opinion, enough why Jake didn't do anything, why he wasn't a victim too. Like, you know, like, was he not there, or like...
I don't think that he was there when everything happened. What they don't explain is how she ended up with him after the fact, like how they ended up linking up back up together, or at least I didn't get that out of the book. How they ended up linking together, like, for him to even change her name, because he's the one that did all of that in the beginning.
He's her hacker.
Did all that. Yeah.
Matter of fact, Hadley is very impressed by his hacking.
Yeah. How did she get out of the hospital? Like, when did he go pick her up? Like, all that they just skip over that. And I feel like that was important to know how Jake got so involved in all of this from the beginning.
I don't know if it was a benefit to the story to have us less focused on Jake.
Yeah.
Or if it was a missed opportunity. Like, I'm kind of on the fence about either one, you know, just because
I can see it both ways, considering
the way it ended. The way it ended is the only reason I would feel like it was a missed opportunity. But for the sake of writing and diverting attention, or making us think, it's Kyle is the killer, you know, like, because what if it had been something weird, like the brother was the killer? Because I recently read a book. Oh, I got to tell you about it. It's supposedly a horror book. It wasn't scary, though. It was kind of creepy, but not like Boo. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, a lot of writers have you know, like, I wouldn't have been shocked if Jake was the actual killer. It would have sucked. Don't get me wrong, because I really like Jake. But I wouldn't have. But the way it was diverted, I wasn't prepared for who was the killer to be the killer.
Yeah, that reminds me of a series that me and Corey actually watched, and he doesn't even watch TV. But it kind of had the same type of vibe. It was talking about how the closest person ended up actually being the person they were looking for the whole time. Um, and so maybe
Like the
they did leave
bodyguard.
out some of that detail, huh?
Like the bodyguard. You know the old Whitney Houston
Yeah,
movie?
yeah,
Remember the
yeah.
sister was the
Maybe they did leave a lot of that detail out because they wanted us to, and maybe that was the biggest mystery of the book, to uncover what actually happened and why she even turned this way, because they don't reveal a lot of details until later on. You just know that she's out for revenge, but you don't know what she's trying to get revenge for until the FBI even finds out, really. She doesn't really go into detail on it, I don't feel like.
And on top of that, Jake and Lana know who the killer is, and they're making this because their killing isn't just they're doing a killing spree. They're killing almost in order, if you will, from least to greatest crime. So
Right.
the only exception is the killer. You know,
Yeah.
like the only exception is the killer. It's the people who, instead of finding the killer, blame them and or blame Lana and her family. And in a way, Jake, he's like, I don't know, distantly attached, if you will.
Yeah.
But like Lana wants payback for what happened to her family, not the people that were killed by the actual killer that her dad
Yeah.
got convicted for.
Yeah.
That was somebody else's crime to commit, if you will.
Yeah.
And what we're watching Logan, Lana's love interest, say the whole time in this series is that at some point Lana is gonna snap, even though it seems like she's justified the more they find out information. And they don't find a lot of stuff out until they actually go to the city.
Yeah.
They just know that men are dying and they're being, what is it, chopped up into pieces? Pretty much flayed alive or something.
Well,
Whatever
certain
she's
body
doing,
parts were chopped off.
yeah, private parts were chopped off. It was gruesome for sure, but she tortured them, and like it seems like she's being sadistic, but she's not. In addition to that, he doesn't look at Lana too because she's helping him with some of his crimes.
Yeah.
Because she's just as good, if not better, of a profiler than him.
And I will say that part, I feel like the author did a good job in, because she made Lana to where not only was she helping him and showing him that she has some type of moral compass, uncovering that, but also she kept telling him, stop telling me stuff about this case. Like, I don't need to know. You don't have to review. I don't want you to get in trouble with your job. Like, she's making it seem like she doesn't want to deter him in any way from looking into this.
All right, we're about halfway through. So I have a couple of questions for you. I think we were speaking a little bit on Lana showing her humanity.
Mm-hmm.
What other ways do you think that she started to not fit the profile Logan had built for her?
I just feel like the profile was completely wrong from the beginning, not only from a physical perspective, because Lana was doing things to offset like her weight and shoe size and like all that to make it not even look in her direction, but also like her being sadistic, all of the stereotypical things that they kept labeling her as. I don't feel like she was, even when she kept saying that she didn't really have emotions and stuff like that, she clearly did because of her relation with Jake, and even her initially starting a relationship with Logan. So I didn't get that at all. I feel like the way that they labeled her, they made it seem like she was going to be completely withdrawn from human interaction, and that wasn't. I don't feel like that was her.
Yeah,
Even the one that that you said, I can't remember her name, but the one that she that we find out was also raped by Kyle, but her husband left her. Like, even Lana's not relationship to her, but her feelings towards that woman and the empathy and just knowing, you know, that this is somebody that she could rely on, all those things, none of it matched to me. And I never got that, even through the beginning when she wasn't as attached to Logan as she eventually was.
I over concur. It wasn't even just that too. Something about, we didn't even really talk about Logan, but he doesn't really have a backstory. He's more of a current in time person.
Yeah.
Their spicy scenes weren't spicy to me. I just want to throw that out there.
They were regular day.
They were cute for them, you know.
Yeah. I think that
I think the story was more appealing than like the smut.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think that that's what she was shooting for. I think that she was trying to make it, though, even overly normal because Lana was seemingly so unnormal. You know what I'm saying? Like everything else about her was completely all the way left. That normality, I think, was a relief for her to just have a normal relationship and be loved the normal way. Like it didn't have to be anything super exciting or anything. I won't say
I would
exciting, that's really bad. But like, you know.
I would often read that a lot of the stories we read, especially like from Blood and Ash, which by the way, you got to give me an update on what you've been thinking of that series. But like how I guess you could say Poppy and Cass's sex scenes are a little bit more spicy, but more because Poppy has been in prison for so long. But also then you have people like Serafina who's been out doing whatever they want to do with nobody with nobody watching them. So I think it's interesting to have a character that's so the way they live is so outlandish that
Yeah.
this is something they
And
want to be very normal.
I think we have to also remember this is one of the only books that we read that they're human. I know that we read like Haunting and Hunting Adeline, and they were also human, but he was completely different than what
He
this
was
is in this
unhinged.
story, I
I ain't
think.
even
Yeah.
go. He was unhinged.
Yeah. And she was also a writer in that book. And I think but I will relate that to, I guess, Poppy, because Poppy was reading books that gave her ideas and
Willa,
stuff. So yeah.
I
But we
fucking
didn't get
love
any
that
of that in
book.
this story. I think, like I said, that both of them just really wanted a normal relationship because she hadn't had it because of her past, but he hadn't had it because of his career. So it was just nice to come together and have that with each other. And that, I won't say boring, but I don't think it's boring. I think there's something special about just having a normal,
There's
you
peace in
know,
that. Like it's peace
yeah,
in because with her changing identities, being on the run, killing folks,
yeah,
there's no peace. I mean, but it's kind of the same for Logan. He travels from state to state. He running a team. There's no peace. Finding comfort would be a good thing. Also, what did you think about Logan tying her up to handcuffing her to the bed and not really hearing her out initially?
it wasn't the not hearing her out that was the issue for me or anybody. I think it was the fact that he proceeded to have sex with her knowing that he was angry, knowing that he had just found this out, and knowing that he had every intention on turning her in. But he just wanted to get that one last. And I understand that by the end of that interaction, he was torn and trying to figure out what he was going to do. But I don't think going into that he was that torn. I think he went into it feeling like, I have to
Get
arrest
rid
her.
of them.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Um,
I have a little bit of mixed feelings about that. I don't think he planned to have sex with her, but I think that she's kind of like, I don't want to like fantasize it too much because that's not what I'm trying to say, but like almost like he's that infatuated with her
no,
that
yeah.
sometimes like, you know, his feelings took over his reasoning because in the end they do end up outweighing, you know,
They
outweighing
do, but
everything.
at the same
I do think it
time,
was a poor choice regardless. I think it was a poor choice.
yes. And I feel like even though his emotions took over in that moment, to me, that was equivalent of if your emotions took over and you abused somebody, or if your emotions took over and you call somebody out their name or whatever case may be, that was just as hurtful of a situation as doing something like that, because it was almost like a buildup. And it was even worse because she knew, based on his interaction and based on how well she knew him, that something was off, and eventually knew that, he knew at that point. So it was just hurtful all around. And he even admitted that, that wasn't the best way to go about it. And his partner said you weren't supposed to do that and like all this stuff. So
Jake said you wasn't supposed to do that. Everybody
yeah.
was like, you were not thinking. Hadley too, even a little bit was like, what did you do? Like, yeah. What did you think
Okay.
about the
So
ex-girlfriend? That was
she got on my nerves, but I guess they always have to throw somebody in there like that. And I don't know if it's to make the main character like more appealing or what, but like, why is this always here?
But also I think it helped us confirm Lana's humanity a little bit. You know, like
And then
it
she didn't
kind
take
of,
her out.
yeah. She only spit
Yeah.
gum in her hair.
Yeah. And I will say, Lana, I appreciated that her or Jake never even looked into that girl. It was just like
Yeah.
Like it was not even
It was
worth it.
very petty school. Like that's the kind of stuff they expected to deal with in high school, not what they
Yeah.
dealt with in high school.
Yeah.
You were about to ask me something
Um,
though. Sorry.
I was just gonna say that I need you to read the Afterlife series. It is a long series.
Is it completed? Because I know that you were getting towards the end when you got the new book the other day, the one you pre-ordered.
Yeah, Afterlife or
Mm-hmm.
no,
Was
no,
it
no.
the
That was
afterlife where
Zodiac
you?
Wolves.
Oh, okay, okay.
So Afterlife, the reason I say that is because the main love interest also makes a huge mistake like this in that book and has to be redeemed from it. And it's not anything like, he cheated or anything like that. It's not like a Tamlin situation.
You you know
But
how
he
mixed
does
feelings about
something
Tamlin.
seemingly because his moral compass is like trying to protect her or trying to walk away because of a reason, and he has to be redeemed from it. So,
Like
and I've been
Kale.
telling you to read that for like years.
So I should be reading more lately. I've been more into my books lately, but right now, specifically right now, everything is a polycon related
Yeah, I
for
can
that.
understand that.
So I'm
No,
finna
the other one was
say,
Zodiac Wolves. I just finished that actually today. That was the end of that series, so it is officially completed. But that author, and we're getting off subject, but that author actually got re-diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. So this was like her
oh
finishing up
yeah,
that
she
story.
canceled for a polycon. Elizabeth
Yeah,
Briggs, right?
yeah, she's going through a lot. So,
Emily McIntyre too. It's a couple of them, and I want to say that's what the author for Mindfuck. I want to say that's what happened to her as well.
oh well,
Oh.
that's interesting. That's sad for them, but she wanted to go ahead and finish that series up, and I'm glad that it ended the way it did. But
How did you feel about all the chapters started with quotes? I kind of liked them.
I liked them, but I didn't get it.
I think it was supposed to like give you the intent for the chapter, kind of
For
like
what's to
with
come.
yeah, kind of like with Fourth Wing. They kind of give you the codex before every chapter too, and you kind of see why the codex is there. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but yeah.
I did notice that, but I read somewhere after I read Fourth Wing that um some of those quotes were actually taken out of a journal. Like these are past events that happened that we're reading now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like it was the
It's from the
recount of their
girl.
life and all that.
Yeah, it's from the girl that Violet is friends with that works. That's a that works in the
Well, I
thing,
know that
Justinia.
now. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you sent me that. I know that now, but at the time when I was reading those quotes every time, I didn't get that. So in this one, I get what you're saying. It's like a foreshadowing of what's to come in that chapter. And it's kind of like Grey's Anatomy. On Grey's Anatomy, you kind of have the same thing. They start and end with a quote. So I don't know. At the time, I didn't get it. I do get it from an intellectual perspective, but I didn't get what it gave to the story. But I also did like that all of them were from like philosophers, and all these people are trying to get into each other's head, which again goes back to what the story is even called. So
I liked that Jake and Hadley got together, and they're such fluid people. It was like, I don't know, the perfect kind of like blending of a couple to me.
yeah,
Like it wasn't one that just was like, oh, they felt forced. The fact that it was just so last minute and chaotic is fitting of the characters. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
at
Like where
first
did
I
this
was
come
like,
from?
yeah, at first I was like, wait, I thought Jake liked men, not Hadley. I was more like, I thought Jake liked
Yeah.
men. Then I was like, oh, he did. And it's funny because my backup thought was he did say a few times that he spares no one if they don't want to be spared.
Right. I was nervous though when she showed up in Greece as well, because I was like, even though he was in, and she was even into that, I didn't think it was that big to where they would
Me neither.
eventually
I thought it was
like,
hookup,
follow each other. Yeah.
but they did.
Um,
But also they said it took them years later to get married, and then they were still inviting people to their bedroom, and then that was like, oh, okay.
it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh, okay. Like,
Yeah.
like hey, it's once a year. You ready for your friend to come over? Yep, you ready? Like, like
I
it's just
know.
Like it just.
But I appreciate that because there are so many people in the world that I feel like aren't honest with themselves about that. Like, just go be poly or go be open or whatever you want to be. There's somebody out there that's okay with it.
I think it's an unfortunate truth that people like the sneaking of cheating more than the actual act of cheating. The potential of getting caught. Like, nobody wants to get caught. Everybody wants to sneak. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the allure of doing something you're not supposed to do in a place you're not supposed to do it in, you know?
Yeah, but then go do role play or go do something else with
I'm
that
not saying
person. I say that
I
because I
agree.
have that kink. I
Yeah.
I like
I
the
agree.
allure of getting caught or like forbidden or whatever you want to call it. That's a kink for me. But I'm also married and faithful. You know what I'm saying? Like,
But I don't want to say those people don't cherish their relationships because I'm not in their heads. But like, I think it's so selfish that it's I feel like you end up being collateral damage to the selfishness, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Not that they don't care, but literally, I was not thinking about you. It happened, but you weren't,
Yeah.
and that sucks. It sucks to hear like you didn't even think about me, but like
Yeah.
that could have been the reality. You know, sometimes you go get
Yeah.
your lunch for the day, you don't think about nobody else because that's what you wanted. Like,
Yeah.
and
I mean,
I know this is a way bigger scale than that, but still, like, you know, like I don't know. At the end of the day, sometimes I don't think we give enough. I'm not saying it's okay. Like, I'm not saying an excuse when I say this. We
yeah.
don't give enough consideration to the fact that we are animals still sometimes. Like, you know, like people are unfortunately enough not always thinking. And that does mean
Yeah.
that you get hurt. But some people are really good about thinking. So
Yeah.
the thing is, when we're like picking your partner type of thing, your partner might, hey, somebody's partner might be a person who is not considerate enough often enough that you
Yeah.
might get left in the wayside continuously. I think they were
Yeah.
just very, especially because of what they've been through, her trauma, his trauma.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fairly certain honesty is like a huge deal
Yeah.
for
And I
them.
appreciate it in both relationships because in both of them at the end we see them both being considerate and understanding what their partner needed because not only did we see Jake and Hadley, having their open relationship, but we see Logan and Lana, like Logan was bringing her keels basically understanding that this will always be a part of who she is.
And is still incorporating his morals, like basically
Yeah.
where almost like a Dexter type of situation. This
Yeah.
is a bad person, but they couldn't get caught for whatever reason. I think like
Yeah.
the person they brought had diplomatic immunity or something.
Yeah.
So that's why they weren't convicted, not because they didn't do it. And Lana even retains a bit of her humanity because the thing is, she didn't want to be a killer. She was a killer because her brother made her promise that basically she would get something, get it back in blood.
Yeah.
but she also acknowledged that like because I've been doing this so long, it's become a bigger part of me and I still have to nurse it, I guess, if you will.
Yeah.
And he noticed that too, but she still has standards. She still was like, are you sure they're guilty? Show me the
Yeah.
file type stuff. Like, so I appreciated that it wasn't just killing. It was very Sloan of her.
Do you think that people that join, not necessarily law enforcement, but on the level of like FBI and even the military, have that kind of same mentality? Like they just have to, and I don't mean the military in the sense that they stay, in a lab, or there are multiple different jobs within the military, but people that are actually in the field, do you think that on some level they all kind of have that need to
Prove that people are wrong?
No, to get it back in blood, like to really bring these people to a justice that doesn't, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm gonna say it's probably split between the type of people like her and the type of people like Logan.
mm-hmm.
Cause he thought he was a crusader changing the world and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think it's so many people. Me and my mom have this conversation a lot. She's very much a very black and white person, and I'm still more gray. Like, it don't be that cut and dry. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we can't there's like no margin of error for villains in black and white, and villains basically are like so many initiate to so many things,
Yeah.
you know. So we can't say that like I'm certain a war has been started because somebody felt disrespected. Not that they were,
Yeah.
but they felt like they were. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? When it could just be we have different customs. And
Yeah.
my custom is to do it wrong. So I think it's probably a little bit of a split. Some people think I'm fighting to keep the bad guys away, and somebody else saying I'm going to find the bad guys that don't get caught.
Yeah.
You know, and just think about how many people though too we know, like just within law enforcement roles, period, that are often the bad guys themselves. Some people probably be going to hone their craft. So,
Yeah.
like, I just think we can't say for sure how everybody thinks. It's probably somebody who thought they go in there would keep them from doing stuff they're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know, like
For sure.
if they thought they were a killer, but at least this job I get to kill, so maybe that'll be enough, and I won't go killing folks I'm not supposed to kill, and I won't go to jail. And that might just be, you know, the start of the beast, for all we know. But
yeah, it just makes me, because I mean, essentially, now Logan is an accomplice in a serial killer, whether it's for a good reason or not. That's still what she's classified as. And it makes me wonder if, you know, we hear all the time about military and their mental health after the fact and things of that nature. But is that something that's always kind of underlying, or does that come out through whatever this experience is that brought them out of them? Same thing in this situation, because like I said, he was the one actually going to hunt people and bring them to her like a gift once a year, as opposed to it being just ending on the revenge.
And also, I would like to point out that his old partner was helping with that endeavor.
Yeah.
Supplying them with files.
Did you expect them to go after? Yeah.
Only because like you said, we kind of picked up early that he kind of had figured it out, you know?
Yeah.
And I think he was weighing and testing Lana, because I think he had a few interactions with her that were kind of like, what's your thoughts about this?
Yeah. Or like, where did you say you were from again and stuff like that?
Yeah. His approach to dealing with her felt introspective. Like, he was trying to profile her too, but I think he wasn't as rigid in his profiling as Logan was. Yeah. Logan thought it could only be one way. And I mean, even that story that he told about the drug dealer who didn't sell to kids and only sold to certain people and was good to his girlfriend, and the girlfriend found out he was a drug dealer and was like, no. Yeah. And then went to be with the police officer who was beating her up every day, and then it was more drugs on the street. So I think he was realistic about the lesser of the two evils type thing.
Yeah. Well, the only thing that I feel like we did not talk about is the fact that Logan actually gets pulled away for another serial killer case, which, like you said, she was helping him with that. But we didn't talk about how, like, her and Hadley get caught by this guy and, like, all this stuff. But I definitely think it's worth mentioning, and people that are going to read, worth reading into that, because that, I think, was a tipping point in the series, especially with Hadley and Lana's relationship.
I agree. So what would you rate this?
I actually think I wrote it down. I think I gave it a 3 out of 5.
Really? What were the downers and the ups?
The ups of the book, I do think it was well written. Like I said, I think it was well written. I enjoyed the characters and their development. For me, I don't think there were as many, not cliffhangers, because there were cliffhangers in the book, but I don't think there was anything that I didn't expect to come in some way, shape, or form. Like, I always
did you have the killer pegged?
I did not. That part was, but it still wasn't mind blowing though. I thought that it would be Cal. I didn't expect it to be who it was, but it still wasn't something that was just.
And by the end, I kind of put it together. So I can see that. I think I did 4. It's not like, I think I did 4.5. It wasn't, okay. That particular month, I read really good books, but that book didn't make me feel disappointed that it was in the lineup with my other books. Like, it was such a letdown. It was just because of the pacing of it. It wasn't like a super long book. It was 15 hours, we said, for what, you could read it as one book, or you could read it as it's a completed series, or you could read it as a series. I think if I'd been reading it in real time, I would have enjoyed it. Like, like when I say in real time, like as they came out, if I was left on the cliffhangers, I still would have wanted to know what happened.
Anticipated.
Yeah, but not in not like when we reading the sisters' books and I was like, are you serious?
Like, well, my thing is not even that when it comes to reading. My thing is, and I'm the same way with movies. Like, I don't want to be able to predict what happens next. And every part of this story, I feel like I could see it coming. Even if from their relationships to, who it turned out to be and all of that. I may not have known specific details, but it was like, well, I saw that, that,
And I think it's going to change from person to person. Because you were expecting to be surprised. And I thought in my head, I'm more watching everybody else be surprised. Do you know what I mean? Like, so I can totally get why you would rate it that way. Yeah. But I think the ups for me was Lana wasn't she was not a annoying FMC, because there's quite a bit of those in some of the things I've read lately. Just people I'm like, ugh. Why they write that? But like, she wasn't annoying. Her feelings were valid. And even like, when we talked about the stuff happening with the bed and everything like that, when Logan slept with her after he found out, even her response, even when she was petty, it still felt organic to her. Like it's not like she became a whole different person.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel like it was well written, and I feel like we actually got to see actual. It was closer to what I feel like a human would react in certain situations. Lifetime, I mean, obviously, yeah. Maybe some of them be like, really? Like, how did they end up together? But in this situation, I didn't feel that way. A lot of it was, that may be bad to say, but a lot of it was justified in her reactions and his reactions. I feel like, even if we wouldn't have reacted,
it felt real. Way. I was gonna say it felt organic. And I think, honestly, I kind of felt like he kind of needed like cold water splashed on him a little bit. You know what I mean? Because he was kind of, like we said, rigid in his morals and things like that. And I think she had to just show him, like, that's where you live and where you work. You just catch the bad guy. But what about people who can't? What about people who are just victims with no resolution that looks like yours? So I enjoyed the story. I'm not saying I would read it every year, because there's some stories I want to read every year, but I wouldn't be mad if I read that again. Yeah. In like 4 or 5 years, just, like, I don't remember everything that happened. Let me check it out again.
Yeah. Well, so the next episode we'll be talking about the next book in the Ruthless Boys series, Savage Fae. So we're hoping that by telling you guys that in advance, you guys can kind of read and follow along with us. And we're excited to get into that one. And then also we'll take any suggestions for any mini series or other series that you think we should highlight and tell our opinions on and things. And I'm excited.
We want to overemphasize. We want you to understand that it probably needs to be dark romance or fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
Like
fantasy, romantasy, dark romance, because not even like the lovey romance.
And if it's a lovey, please give us less than 200 pages. Give us a fighting chance to want to read it, or let it just be great. I don't have too much to add. We're setting up some details for our lives and our Patreon. We'll keep you updated as we go along. We want to thank you for tuning in, listening to us talk. It's been too literal.